Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Contour Community Meeting. Today is July 20th, 2021. We've got some status updates and then we want to go through. So let's get started. Nick?
So first one, we are affected by the Kubernetes Cve there. It's a low severity CVE, but we want to make sure that we patch this one for the current release so that you don't have to upgrade to get it. The relevant part is actually not the endpoint and endpoint slice permissions that are in the headline thing, but if you scroll down a bit, Jonas, it's additional advisory is the section. Basically you can a similar attack is possible using ingress implementations that support forwarding to external name services. That is Contour. We support forwarding to external name services, and so so you can use that to forward to services in other namespace or other things. So we'll be issuing a patch for that sometime in the next week once I finish working on it. And then we're also due to release 1.18 next week. So we will absolutely be backporting this patch for a 1.17.1 release, but it will also be included in Contour 1.18. Stay posted on this one. I'll update in the channel as we have more. I think.
Sorry.
No, you go.
Clicked the wrong button there. Yeah.
So thank you. We're doing a design update of our Gateway API support after having a bit of an oversight with the Contour 1.17 release. Well, not just a bit of an oversight, it was a pretty bad mistake. And so in Contour 1.17, we broke the operator and Contour interaction as part of doing some changes to the gateway implementation. So we've stopped work to spend a little bit of time and go over our design to make sure we were all on the same page so that sort of thing won't happen again. And we've got a rough plan for where we're going with the overall gateway design, and we have a plan for fixing up the problems that we caused in 1.17. That will be fixed for 1.18 due out next week, and then we have a plan going forward. The document there is where we're working on updating the gateway API design document. We were doing that as a PR on GitHub, but there were too much backwards and forwards, too many comments, too many changes. So we switched to a Google Doc just because it's easier to make comments and stuff. That's open to everyone on the link. So you can definitely go and have a look. If you're interested in Contour's Gateway API support or using the operator or both, you should definitely have a look. One of the important things here is that in the future, Contour will be changing so that Contour is the thing that manages. It will have the ability to manage the Envoy deployment rather than the operator managing the Envoy deployment for Contour. It's a seemingly small change that has significant design implications. This document sort of discusses where that thing is at and has a plan for going forward. I strongly suggest reading it and coming back to us with questions if you have further ones. I don't want to. This one is. There's been a lot of discussion amongst the maintainers about this one, and I sort of don't want to preempt that too much. So I think, and this is quite a long document, and there's still a lot of changes in flight. So it definitely is worthy of a review for most people in the community, I would say, because this is effectively the future of Contour. In a sentence, the future of Contour is the gateway APIs. We have joined with the community and made a big bet that that the gateway APIs are the future of traffic ingress into clusters, not just capital I ingress object, but traffic ingress into clusters. I and other people on the team are spending a lot of time working on the upstream gateway API to make sure that it meets the use cases that we have, as well as other people's use cases. But at the same time, we're working on making sure that it's implemented properly in Contour and that everything works how consumers of the API expect it to work. And that's why we're sort of paused to make sure that we've got this design nailed down, and it's going to do what we need it to do. So does anyone else have anything to say there on the design? Or Alex, do you have anything about product direction and things like that with respect to Gateway API?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. I think it is important, right? It's important to note that we've spent a lot of time thinking about this, right? Just being involved in the upstream meetings. And this is a direction forward, but we're going to still keep investing in our CRD HTTP proxy, right? For anyone who hasn't heard this before, right, we're not abandoning HTTP proxy development in any way until the upstream stuff is at parity with our CRD. That's kind of what we're doing right now. We're sort of backfilling a lot of the missing features in upstream, with things that we've seen, really take off, things that we know that have worked well for us. And so it's going to be, concurrently developing HTTP proxy and HTTP route for now. And then we'll shift those investments depending on the level of adoption. So
yeah, I think that we've also, having HTTP proxy has also been very fortunate for the community as a whole, because we've been able to take a lot of the stuff we've learned from having our own CRD to do this stuff, and take that upstream to the Gateway APIs, and be able to really provide great feedback and design input to the Gateway APIs. And I know, I've had a few people say, oh, thanks, we hadn't thought of it that way, when people have said, oh, we should do this. And I've said, oh, we tried that in HTTP proxy, and here's the things that were good, and here's the things that were bad. Yeah, so if you're interested in that support, please have a look. I think that this is definitely very important for the future of Contour.
You want to dedicate a larger portion of a community meeting for this, just to present the design in a proper way for everyone?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I kind of want the design to be a little bit more final than it is now. We're still sort of just thrashing out the last few details, but once we've done that, yeah, absolutely. I would like us to spend probably almost a whole community meeting walking through the design and having people have the opportunity to ask questions about why we've done things and stuff like that, to get that stuff on record.
Sounds good. So in advance of that community meeting, I think we should send out a email over to the distribution list, so everyone knows that we're going to be talking about this specific topic during that meeting.
Yep, I think that's a great idea. Thanks, Jonas.
By the way, Jonas, is there any way for you to look at how many people are subscribed to that distributors list?
Yeah, I can take a look after this.
All right, cool, thanks.
Awesome. So yeah, Steve K, can you run us through this other issue that should make it in for 18? Yep.
Yeah, just a quick update here. So with Ingress v1, which has been GA for a couple of Kubernetes releases now, there is an actual spec field for defining the ingress class for ingress. And so we had a request to do something similar for HTTP proxy. So instead of only supporting the annotation, to add a spec field to allow the user to define the ingress class if they're using that functionality. And so this just makes ingress and HTTP proxy function in the same way with regards to ingress class. So I have a PR up today that adds that. We're continuing to support the annotations for now. I would say indefinitely. We haven't really talked about dropping them, but I'd say we'll keep an eye on what's happening upstream. And if Kubernetes decides to drop support for the ingress class annotation for ingress, then we might consider doing the same for HTTP proxy. But for now, either one works. So yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Steve. Does anyone else have any status updates that they would like to share on things they've been working on or things they are currently working on this week? All right.
Just
Yeah.
working on some of the operator contour fixes. So that's mainly what I'm working on. The kind of the fixing the holdovers from the 117 release that were need adjustment.
Perfect. Thank you, Sanjay. All right. Next up, we have discussion topics, and we don't have any discussion topics listed, but we do have issue triage. So who wants to run that?
So I guess Alex, it's you or me, I guess. I can do it if you like. Pull up the board.
Yeah, yeah, if you can, Nick. I don't really have, I just had the one issue and Steve just talked about. That was the one thing I wanted to get in 118.
Okay, sure. No worries. Well, yeah, I will make sure I'm sharing the right. Okay. So yeah, so this is the board. We did have a discussion about moving things around. We've moved things around a little bit. You can see here that we've got the stuff that's due in for the 118 release here, stuff that we are currently investigating, but we don't know when it will be done. Stuff that's sort of prioritized to come up soon, and then stuff that we are looking to target in the 119 release. There's a bunch of other columns over here. The parking lots are intended to be a roughly prioritized list of things to do for the future. However, Alex and I still have a lot of grooming work to do there, I think, to sort of tidy up a lot of these things. So I think we should sort of, if we should run down or up here, but yeah, we need to relabel some of these things so that we can no, oh, that doesn't work. Dang. Label this a little bit. Okay, okay, cool. So this is the stuff that's labeled as needs triage on the board. So let's get started on doing these. I think we'll hit the 118 ones first. I think most of these probably shouldn't have needs triage on them from what I can see. But yeah, let's run through them. So yeah, Gateway API TLS support. Yeah, we have to do this one. We are working on it, but I don't think it will be finished in time for 118. So I would say we should bump this to 119. Anyone objecting? No. Okay, yep. So I will move this to the one GitHub. That's the one I wanted. Move that to the 119 milestone and push this. Let's see if I don't think I can. Okay, great. How helpful. Sorry to everybody, but I'm going to make use of the fact that I have a widescreen monitor and then this one also needs to be needs triaged.
By the way, I was thinking about, we talked about renaming parking lot 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
I couldn't come up with something better. I mean, even though this is really bad. So I was thinking maybe we could just get rid of 1, 2, 3 and just have just one column.
Yeah, I think that's probably better. And so I think the other thing that we need to do for this is that a prioritized backlog should be a list of things in rough priority order that we should be doing next, and that someone who is involved with the project but doesn't have anything to do can go and look at. There should be no needs triage issues in prioritized backlog, or ideally in investigating. So yeah, I think that it probably makes sense to just remove the parking lots and to, if those things are important, then they should go into prioritized backlog, and if they're not, then then we should be doing a review every now and again and sending things into the prioritized backlog. What I'd like to end.
Let's just lock it down.
Yep.
Let's just lock this down. All right. No more. So I'll move stuff out of parking lot 1, 2, 3 into prioritized and unprioritized.
Yeah, I think unprioritized is good. So I think what seems to me, and correct me, Sanjay, Steve, anybody else if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that the way the board should make the most sense is if things on the board are immediately actionable, or like, you know, if it's on the board, then it means we need to do it at some point in the reasonably near future, or we've looked at it, or, you know, like it's actionable right now. It doesn't need someone to triage it. It doesn't need someone to determine whether or not we should do it. Someone's looked at it and determined that we should do it. And, you know, so there should be no need. This label search should be empty on this board, ideally. Possibly with the exception of these investigating ones. Because some of these investigating ones, what I have found with the investigating ones is that a lot of the time I put things in there. You can see I'm assigned to a bunch of these because they're ones where people have opened users of Contour have opened a request, and I have no idea about if it's a thing that we should do or not, or something, but we need to do some investigation or reproduction to determine what that is. And so I kind of want this investigating column to be, hey, we've seen that you've asked us for something, we've seen it, we're, you know, working on doing something about it. If we don't, you know, with the sort of other side of that being, if we don't give you an update, then, you know, you should ping us and ask us where it's at. Does that seem reasonable? Yeah, cool. Okay. Thanks, Sanjay.
That sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So I think supporting TLS route is going to be much the same as ones. It's no longer its triage. It's not going to be finished for 118. Push it to 119. Yeah. Label actually updated at that time. Okay. Next time I move it to the 119 column before I remove the next triage. Noted. This one, Sanjay, you opened this. I think that this is a good idea that we should do. This is basically saying we allow you to set the TLS options on the listener side of the TLS. And that includes stuff like what cipher suites are accepted and all that, and minimum TLS versions. But we don't apply any of those settings to the connection between Envoy and Contour.
Envoy and upstreams, really, as well. Any other upstreams. So Envoy and Contour, or Envoy and extension services, or Envoy and upstream apps.
Yep. So I think on this issue, I think the rough consensus we had come to was, like, I certainly agreed that we should just do this, and we should, as a first pass, say whatever you supply for the outside stuff is what you get for the inside stuff by default. Maybe we need to allow for some configurability there. There's probably a bit more investigation and sort of design needs to go into this one though. But I definitely think it's not going to happen in 118, so put it in there. Possibly it should even go into like prioritized backlog, because I don't know if we'll even get to it in the 119 timeframe. Sanjay, what do you think about how much work this has left?
I think just like slapping on some config from one place to another isn't that hard, but I guess actually taking a look and seeing if that's the right thing to do might take just some thought. Yeah,
I think that's it feels to me like that's the thing that's going to take the time, not the actual code changes are easy in this case. It's do we actually want to do just blanket apply that to everywhere, or do we give people the ability to change those settings differently to the listener settings?
Yeah,
and useful. That seems like something it's hard to make a call about without customer feedback.
Without maybe doing it and messing with it. So that might take a little bit of exploration time along with the code changes as well.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so we'll put it in 119 for now. I think we should come back and reevaluate. It's got no one assigned, so anyone can pick this one up. I'll remove the needs triage label because we triaged it. And it's in 119. This one I did. Okay, it's just not there. Okay. Now this one, think we've made a little bit of progress on this, but it's definitely not going to be finished in time for 118. So over to 119 it goes. I don't think anyone's going to disagree that we need to have integration / end-to-end tests for the gateway controller that we're adding to Contour soon, or that we have added to Contour. Ooh, cool. Okay, so I think we can consider this one triaged. It's we need to do it. I will remove that label. Okay, let's talk Contour crypto functions. Alex.
Yeah, so this is just like documenting the crypto functions in, so full transparency, this is a downstream need. And I suspect other, commercial vendors using Contour would want to know for bookkeeping. So I wrote down some stuff that might be of interest, but it's not a finalized list.
Okay. So how about we drop this one, like prioritize backlog.
This is really, I mean, I could do this, but I'll need to get this info from someone. I'll probably work with Sanjay on this.
Yeah, so I don't think it's need to triage anymore. Like we need to do it, but I think we just put it in prioritize backlog so that people know that this sort of thing is coming. I mean, Makaya, you're here. Is that something that you and OpenShift would sort of need? Something about FIPS compliance?
Quite possibly, yes.
Okay.
Not anytime in the immediate future, but yes, that is something we'd be interested in.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah. So if you could maybe just, even if you just +1 that issue or something and just keep it on, put it so you'll get notified if we update it. Cool. I think that one is again unambiguously we need to do it. I think this one's pretty interesting. This one's from Johan, and it looks like he says that they're using the extended auth support, and they want to be able to use the rate limiting support. And currently, the external auth is added in front of the rate limiting support. He basically makes the point that after local rate limiting, and it's probably he sort of says, hey, maybe it'd be good to be able to configure this order. The reason I sort of read this one, I was like, that does seem like a reasonable ask, but I think I responded here, but yeah, it does seem like it would be something that would be tricky to write the config for, since we basically then need to be able to have a thing that lets you define the order in which filters are applied to a specific to our listeners. So that seems like something that would be hard. Steve, you've got this at the moment. Are you actively working on it, or?
I am not actively working on it. I can, or if someone else wants to work on it, that's fine too. I looked at this a little bit a few weeks ago, and I remember that there's another Envoy ingress controller. I can't remember which specific one it is, that does have a very specific config knob for this exact problem. And their config field it's like, rate limit before auth or something like that. So it's like, it literally only controls the order of these two filters. Okay. So that's the approach they've taken. We can obviously, do it the way we see is best, but just something to think about.
Yeah, is there any reason not to just swap the order and say,
yeah, I was gonna say,
first?
The way he asked for it seems to make more sense as a default.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, you guys, Andre.
I was just gonna say, like, would people legitimately want their auth server to run, like request for their auth server to happen before, like, authenticate and then also rate limit? It's kind of odd.
I think so. One issue is that sometimes you want to make a different rate limiting decision based on whether it's an authenticated user or not.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So different rate limits for authenticated versus not. So that's an example where you'd want it in a different order. So you may need to add a header or something, and then you want to be able to use that for the rate limit decision.
So,
So would you want to put that on every route then? Because like, or like every FQDN, every host? Because like, say you're going to google.com unauthenticated, you want to get rate limited differently than google.com authenticated.
So yeah, I think that all of those are good questions that we definitely need to ask to do this issue, but that I think that there's no dispute that we need to do this issue, right? So we can probably consider this one triaged, just like in terms of we actually have talked about it. I do think that this one probably doesn't seem like, you know, while we need to get to it at some point, like it doesn't seem like we need to get to it in 119 specifically. So I'd say we probably should put this on the prioritized backlog and remove the needs triage label, and probably remove Steve, remove you from it if you're not actively working on it. Sound all right?
Sounds okay to me.
Cool. Okay, let's do that. So yeah, here's that. Prioritize backlog, no milestone. And it's not lifecycle needs triage, so we should change it to lifecycle accepted, I think.
I'm adding a comment on that, what we just talked about on the issue.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm going to try and find a reference to whatever the other ingress controller was as well.
Awesome. So next one, we've got when it'd be useful to be able to do sticky sessions via source IP. I'm pretty sure this is possible in Envoy. It's just a matter of configuring the hash policy for the sticky sessions correctly. This is also related to a bunch of other requests we have around sticky session extension. I think, yeah, I've linked a bunch of the other things there. Alex, you asked earlier, we definitely don't have time to bandwidth to tackle this in 118. We can put it into 119 and see if we can get to it. It needs a little bit of design work, I think. So I'm going to swap this to lifecycle needs design.
This is asked a lot by customers. Just FYI, Nginx has this capability.
Yeah, I don't dispute we need to do it. I think that's why it's. You know, I think I'm going to put it as block needs design. Remove nice triage. And Steve, you're not actively working on this, right?
I am not, no.
Cool. Turn that off. Cool. Because no, I didn't do it. I did. Good. I was racing the label, racing the race condition there. Okay. Actually, this one we need to do sooner rather than later. I logged this one. This is moving away from Docker Hub because of the rate limit. We absolutely have had people impacted by the rate limit already. I've seen some issues internally at VMware and some open in the public channel as well. So this, I would argue we need to do this hopefully in the 119 thing. I think there's a bit of work to do. I suspect there's a little bit of work to do because we've got to change all the things. We've got to figure out, like, are we going to keep publishing releases to Docker Hub for a while? What are we going to do? You know, there's a few other decisions like that we've got to figure out as part of this. It's not just flipping the switch. There's a few other, like, how do we handle, you know, dangling references and stuff like that. And do we continue publishing to Docker Hub for any period of time, and how long is that? That sort of thing. But so I propose we put this one in 119 release. Hopefully one of us can get to it, because we do need, this one needs to be done soon.
Yeah, should the like first action item be like write up a proposal on how to gracefully switch over as a first step? or like, because I assume we want to do like publish to both for some amount of time, and then remove Docker, or like really yell loudly, hey, don't go to Docker Hub anymore. Switch the example manifest, something like that.
Or actually, probably one thing that we can talk about now is that, what are we going to do? Yeah, I think we should make the call like right now that we're going to do GitHub Container Registry. I think it's, for us, I think it's probably the lowest risk option, because if GitHub has problems, we have problems anyway. The GHCR is now GA, as Steve commented here. So I think we should say, okay, next steps, we've decided we're going to do GHCR. Next steps are to write up something, either here in this issue or in a design doc, about how we're going to make that transition work. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What about? Okay, you said GHCR, right? GitHub
Yes.
Container Registry. Okay, yeah, that's what I had in mind.
Yeah.
But are we impacted right now? I mean, is our CI impacted by pulls from Docker Hub?
I don't think I've seen anyone complain about it. I know I have seen customers say, that users of Contour say that, that they have been impacted by Docker pulls and Docker pulls failing because of rate limiting. Yeah.
I haven't seen RCI fail due to it. I mean, I'm trying to think where we actually pull from Docker Hub, and I think maybe it's only for the upgrade tests where we pull the previous version.
Yeah, because we mostly build the image ourselves, right?
We mostly build our own image locally, but still, given that it impacts customers, I think we need to do this.
Okay, so our CI does not reach out to Docker Hub.
Has it been an issue for the operator CI?
I don't think so. I think we might have dodged a lot of that because we haven't, because although Damien was an absolute code writing machine, like we don't have enough churn on the operator to be doing lots and lots of CI. That said, like I don't know for sure. It's very possible that we have been impacted and no one's noticed.
I think most of our CI, besides the stuff that builds an image and pulls from Docker Hub, most things use a locally built image and load it into Kind or something. So
I think that, as Mackay said, that the operator is probably the most likely one to have that sort of problem, though, because you're going to be using a particular version of Envoy and Contour, which is going to be pulled Docker Hub. Envoy, obviously, we got to pull it from wherever Envoy goes, so we can't fix that one. But but we can change the Contour one.
Is there anything about like how you can change your Docker account to make rate limiting for users lower, or is it based on the puller?
It's based on the puller, not on who owns the image. Yeah,
it's actually not that expensive. Like for just regular users, it's like a $5 a month. You can get unlimited all access, but yeah, I guess I think without paying for it, it's like 600 pulls per day or something. It's authenticated versus unauthenticated. There are two limits.
Oh yeah, the account difference is how it changes how long your images stay in Docker Hub, not the pull.
Yeah, it's
Okay, so I've added a comment there. So to mark down that we have actually made the call, I will put this one into 119 and remove needs triage. I think it is still lifecycle investigating, so I'll leave that there. Yep. Here we go.
By the way, this meeting is still showing up as half an hour on my calendar instead of.
We did change it to an. We have officially changed it to an hour, right, Jonas?
Yeah. So the meeting invites went out, and you should have all gotten them. But thanks to the wonderful, wonderful list system that we have, they actually don't send out invites, they send them out as emails with attachments. So you have to open that attachment to get the calendar invite.
Okay.
Got it.
Open with the CNCF help desk.
Okay, no worries. I will find those emails and yeah, that is a problem. Okay, we've got a little bit of time left. Yeah, if anyone else wants to take over, that's fine, but I'm happy to keep going. And if there's anything that anyone wants to talk about specifically that you can see on the screen here, then please say, but otherwise I'm just going to keep ticking down this column. Yeah, okay. Migrating gateway API validation logic out of the DAG. Yeah, this was Daniel's call. We've already got a validation package inside Contour. Yeah, basically this is moving some of the validation logic from the DAG into the validation package so that the validation happens earlier on ingestion. And then moving the non-Contour specific validation, we should move to the validation package that's upstream in the gateway APIs. Yeah, since that benefits everybody. There also is the validating webhook that's upstream that would be helpful, and we should, as we increase Contour's gateway API support, we should look at including that as at least an option, or including it in the Contour install. You know, or including it in the way that you enable gateway APIs or something like that. Yeah, so there's definitely quite a bit of work to do there to make that work. I think that's worthy of its own issue. However, this is definitely not going to happen in 118. So I'm not sure where to put this one. Sajid, you're unmuted. Any thoughts?
I guess given what was our few step plan for gateway API support, can that inform where we put this? We were gonna.
Yeah, so I think we're going to hit the CRD, moving Contour's config file to a CRD instead first, because that makes a whole bunch of stuff in actually moving. Basically, that once we have Contour's config as a CRD, we currently have the operator's config as a CRD, and that lets us basically shift fields between those two things as we move management of things between the operator and Contour. And so it makes the code easy to handle, conceptually it easier to understand. Basically, we can say, okay, cut this thing out of the operator's config because now it goes in Contour's config. And it'll make it easier to manage that transition. I think that regardless of exactly how we do that, we're going to have to backport some of that stuff into the config file anyway, because we can't drop the config file in one release. We need to allow people some time to move away from the config file. So we're going to end up doing some of that stuff, but conceptually this makes it easier to understand. And it also, the other thing that we determined as part of this discussion is that the operator will require that when it installs Contour, it will use the new CRD. So if you are doing Contour manually, you don't have to use the CRD yet, but if you're doing, the operator will use the CRD and we'll start using the CRD instead of creating a config map for Contour's config.
So this, I think, could be parallelizable completely with all that. Well, I mean, relative to conflicting changes in source code files, but like logically, this doesn't seem like it conflicts with that much. So it's not like it has to go after or before, or maybe.
It doesn't have to be after, I don't think. I think it will make some of the stuff that we need to do in the next phase, the sort of Contour manages Envoy, the Envoy service phase. It'll make a lot of that much easier because the operator's Contour object already has the support for configuring the network publishing of Envoy, which is the thing that the service does, right? And so that's why it's kind of behind there at the moment. It's not conceptually that has to be separate. It's that
I meant the gateway API validation stuff.
Right. Yeah, the validation stuff. Yeah, there's no reason why it can't be worked on like now. This is just a refactor that we can do anytime. Agreed.
Yeah, so that could be, I guess we could put it 119 or prioritize backlog if we don't. I don't know how much stuff is already in the 119.
Yeah.
generally,
Um,
or whatever the next one at 120.
I'm just thinking. I mean, so let's err on the side of putting a little bit more in 119 for now, and we can. Yeah, we're doing this every week now, so we can have a look at how we're going on 119, and and pull things out if we need to later. But probably better to err on the side of making sure things stay high on the board for now. Is my thinking. Yeah. Okay, so let's pop that 119. That means we will swap this 119. So I need to go in and make new milestones. And this is not assigned to anybody. It has been triaged, so I will have to mark this accepted. Okay. Hi, this one was you, Sanjay. I think this is a really interesting question that probably we're not going to have time to address for a little while.
Right, and the rate of using new Envoy features isn't super high, so it's not critical to solve immediately. But it's kind of.
I think this was. Sorry, to cut you off, Sanjay. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was done.
I think this was like the one release we had where I forgot, like you had to start Envoy first and then Contour, right?
In a specific, I think it was like there was a couple things where we had that kind of thing happen, but
okay, so I think this one, I feel like this one goes in prioritized backlog. We do need to get to it and relatively soon, but it doesn't have a milestone. We should just mark it as accepted. We are going to do it. Okay, so mark that as accepted, remove the needs triage and pop it into prioritized backlog. Sound okay?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Good. Okay, multiple secrets.
Hey, Nick, before you move on, just a question for Micaiah. So within Contour, this has nothing to do with issue triaging here, but just future-proofing our communications around CVEs. So we have a distributors list that we have set up for people that should get information about CVEs. And I'm wondering if you would be a good contact for that, or someone else within the OpenShift team that should get advanced notices of CVEs.
Yeah, I would like to be on that list.
Okay, perfect. Is there anyone else within the OpenShift team that would be a good contact, or or maybe a distribution list or something like that?
Let me bring that up with my team. I think we could give you one or two names, but I'd like to discuss that internally first.
Okay, yeah, perfect. I'll ping you on Slack about this as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Continue on.
It's 100% worth saying that. Thanks, Jonas. Okay, so let's hit this ingress one. Sanjay, you just want to run us through this one?
Yeah, so the ingress spec, as we know, is kind of not super specific about a lot of things. It lets you have lists of TLS secrets with a list of host names that it can be applied to. It doesn't really say anything about whether you can repeat and have multiple secrets for a single host name. This was kind of an edge case that I guess I didn't want to solve in the moment, so I wrote an issue for it because it's kind of hairy, not hairy, but like it's kind of unclear. Looks like we agreed to kind of do it, and Ame had originally gotten assigned to it and started working on or talking about working on it at the very least. But there's a linked pull request too, so there is something there from Ame, but To be honest, Ame hasn't been around for a little bit while. I think he's been busy with his day job.
Yes, I think he got busy with his day job and hasn't been able to do that. So yeah, I pinged him a couple of times and he said he is still interested in working on some of this stuff, but I think that if people wanted to pick this one up, that we probably should look at just picking it up and putting it down as Ame co-authoring, and when one of us finishes it off, we can check with him first, of course. But
yeah, no one's really, as far as I know, clamoring for this feature. It's just something I noticed in the spec that it's kind of unclear, so it's not necessarily something that's critical to do.
okay, I propose we put this one in prioritized backlog, mark it as accepted, and see if Ame comes back around to it.
Cool. And then I think Steve K, you had a couple of links that you mentioned.
I dropped a couple links. Yeah, if we're done with that column.
Yep. Hang on, let me just finish the mechanics there.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. The second to last one that you posted.
Alright, so
yeah,
I got a
finished up
question with this new arrangement. You know, I think Chris had a question before about what if you had additional bandwidth or you wanted to pick up something to work on? Is that, I guess that's what they would look at, the prioritized backlog.
Yeah, look to the farthest left column. If there's something that's not assigned, then you can pick it up, I guess. Or like
Yeah,
chat to us and see if it's not assigned, and then prioritize backlog is probably. Maybe
So
that
that
could
means
even be moved left.
prioritized backlog, right? Should be the leftmost column like that.
Okay.
So that means the leftmost column is then where you go. Should not be closed. Oops. I pushed the wrong button. Oh no, it's okay, good. So yeah, that's where you go to that's where you go to find new work.
I mean, we would want to start with things in the current release first, though, right? Like, because we're slating stuff into release buckets based on what we want to do for the release. So first
okay.
we've got a 1.18 release, right?
Yep.
And then I guess the question is, like, if we finish everything in here, should we go to 1.29 or the 1.19 release or prioritize? And I think the answer is 1.19 release.
Yeah, use the prioritized to build the actual releases, right? It's like at the end of 119, as we're going over what to do for 120, we could pick from prioritized.
Ideally,
So we're just looking like one release ahead for things we know we want to kind of pick up next.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I put them in that order right now. Yeah, I think we're pretty good there. Okay, I actually think probably I'm ready to call enough for the day, aside from these ones that Steve has mentioned. What do we got? Let's talk about the operator ones. We've got 386 and 2134. Okay, let's do these two and then call it done.
Yeah, so this is the V1 Alpha 2 API, which came up because Danian wanted to make some changes to namespace management to basically take away the namespace from the spec and just do it based on what namespace the contour is created in, which necessitates a new API. So yeah, I just wanted to discuss when we would do this. I mean, I think it ties into the stuff we're doing with moving the controllers around and what other breaking changes we'll have to make to the operator API there. So it's probably not a, it's not a 1.18 thing, but it would be good to schedule.
I feel like this one goes, so that's currently listed as 118. I feel like this is actually a 119 thing, because that's when we're going to be doing the CID changes. Like we're going to be adding the CID for contours config. That will have to be added as an alpha CID first. So if we're going to be revving, if we need at some point in the future to rev the contour CRD that the operator is currently using. We probably need better names for these things, because currently the operator uses a CRD called contour to define what a contour like installation should look like. And we're going to need a config CRD for contour itself to configure contour. So, names are important. We're going to need to come up with good names for those things, but it does make sense given that we're going to need to do breaking changes to the contour CRD, the operator one, and that necessitates into V1 Alpha 2, that anything we do for the new CRD should also go into V1 Alpha 2.
I was also thinking that to fix some of the problems that we have with the operator and contour right now, I wanted to change some fields in the existing contour, like that specifically the gateway class ref that is mentioned there.
Okay.
So I guess maybe slight background, we have an issue with the fixes that I've been making to the operator and contour, is that the operator has a hard coded controller string that it looks for, like it only reconciles gateways with that controller string, and so then it also passes that controller string down to contour now. Well, in main it doesn't, but with the fix it needs to. But that also means that there's only ever really one instance of contour that really makes sense, because you only have one gateway controller.
Well, there's only one. You can the gateway will only reconcile gateway class. The operator will only look at gateway classes that match that controller string, right?
Yeah,
I think that's
will only create a contour for gateways under that. So I guess you can have multiple you can have multiple contours, but it is weird because they're all under the same gateway controller name.
I think that,
so either we don't fix it for 118 and just fix many things in 119, or also
I think that's the play, to be honest, that we need to get the fix so that things that the operator actually works at all. And the fact that it has this limitation needs to be documented as a known issue in the release notes for the operator for 118, and that we are planning on fixing that in 119. But that I think that's the best we can do. I don't want to. I think that fixing that properly is going to take longer than a week.
I'm messing with it, so I'll in the next couple of days I'll see if there's another workaround or something else that we could do that is a little bit whatever. But that's where I started at, I guess, with the fix for the realized, and I think Steve S and Steve K both commented on that there was weirdness there.
See, I think the focus, it feels to me like the focus for 118, because it's next week that we're due, it should be to get something that works at all. If it has limitations, like you can't do multiple things, then like that sucks, but it's better than having something that doesn't work at all. And as long as we document those limitations and say we're going to address these in 119, then I think that's about as good as we can hope for at this point. I think that we've just had this problem where the things we sort of were developing like this, they've all of a sudden crashed into each other, and we're like, oh, it turns out that some of those things we thought mesh didn't. That's why we needed to stop and do the design stuff. So I think we need to minimize the amount of change we do without having finished the design that we're still working on. And that particular thing that you're talking about should also be part of the design. Like we need to have something in there that talks about how you would have multiple operators in a cluster, or multiple operators managing, or a single operator managing different classes or something like that. Like we need to say, I mean, because I know for a fact Knative users is currently experimenting with using the operator in order to solve their specific use case, which is having an internal and an external contour and envoy deployments, or at least one of those. So that is probably the main use case for multiple contour deployments that we need to handle. Whether that's you have multiple operators, we have a single operator that handles multiple things, I don't think it actually matters that much, but we need to have an answer for how that will work eventually. And until we have that answer, we should not do any changes to doing this stuff until we can be confident that that answer will fit with the rest of the design that we're doing. And I think, yeah, it does suck that they won't be able to do it for right now, but it's going to suck less than doing something and then having to change it again later.
Okay, so this goes to 119
Yep.
because we're going to need to do things.
Yep.
And
I put that 119, yep.
and then Steve's other one, which is actually quite interesting, and we've talked about it many times, but have never. I don't know. Is there? I guess there's probably some context to leave here as well.
Yeah, I can talk about it quickly. The other one's the Go control plane, migrating to Go control plane. So we started doing this work so that we could get rid of our legacy custom XDS server. So we have both as options right now. We're not using the Go control plane based one as the default. We're still using the legacy contour based one. So right now we're maintaining both indefinitely. You know, I don't think it's a big issue to carry both, but it seems like we should either give up on Go control plane or finish the migration. So I don't know. I don't know if this is something that we want to prioritize or if nobody really cares about it.
I certainly really care about it, but I think that Bill hasn't had the bandwidth yet to have a look at some of the stuff that I asked him to earlier on, which is fine. He's been busy with Envoy maintainership, but that was kind of this sort of thing was exactly the sort of thing that I was hoping would fall out of some of the stuff that Bill was going to look at about how we modernize the cache handling code. In order to be able to do, I spent some time having a look at this, and in order to be able to use Go control plane properly to get things like ADS and incremental XDS, we have to change how the caches between the DAG and the XDS implementation actually work. The incremental XDS and stuff requires effectively it requires you to have a cache that keeps revisions of the objects so that you can incrementally choose which ones and stuff like that. So you need to have basically the cache store more things and have them indexed by revision, which is a pretty big change. And that's why I wanted Bill, who has a lot more sort of real world concurrent shenanigans experience than I think most of us, to have a look at that. And so in my mind, this was sort of gated behind somebody. Bill is currently the one on the hook to do it, having a look at how all of the how Go control planes caches expect how Go control plane expects its caches to be handled, and what's the difference between what we have now and what that would be. And I don't think that we can finish this migration to Go control plane until we've done that work. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure, but we are out of time, so we can probably maybe just continue discussing later. It's not a top priority, so we'll stop it somewhere.
No, I think, yeah, thanks for putting these triage on there. It definitely needs it. Agreed. Well, yeah, we are absolutely out of time. Thank you for the triage help. Yeah, we made some decent progress there. That's a shorter column. These are all shorter columns than they were before. That's great. Yeah, so thanks everybody for your time today. Yeah, and hopefully this has been edifying for you.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.